one of the things that I definitely like to help business owners realize is that we're all a team. You have to have basically a finance department for your business. And that's including, your CPA, which is going to be the one in charge of your taxes and your tax strategy, and being able to see how you're going to structure your business, your entity, and how you're going to file your taxes at the end of the year to maximize your savings, all of these different things. You have your bookkeeper, which is the one providing your CPA with all of the numbers of what's actually going on. This is the actual data, that's been happening all year. So at year end, all they have to do is say, hey, I'm going to use these reports to do this. Or even if you're working with them throughout the year, making that tax strategy, you have your financial coach, which is going to help you change your different, your different spending habits, your different strategies around money, your mindset, all of those things. So all of us come together. You have your payroll specialist, that's going to help process your payroll and get you set up on that as well. So it's
Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I am your host, Angela Duncan, speaker, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, and we talk all things money and business. Today's episode is sponsored by freemoneytipsbook.com, freemoneytipsbook.com. Head over there and get your free ebook, 7 Unshakable Tips to Start Your Financial Journey. On today's episode, I am interviewing Aileen Martinez with Rise Up Bookkeeping, and she's going to tell you why it's so important for you to know your numbers outside of tax season. Hi, Aileen. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
Hi, Angela. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I am doing awesome. Thanks for saying yes to be on the show today. So I would love for you to start off and tell a little bit about yourself and your journey so our audience can get to know you.
Of course. So my name is Aileen Martinez. I'm the owner and CEO of Rise Up Bookkeeping. We're a boutique bookkeeping firm which helps business owners ignite growth by providing them with more profit and more time. So my journey actually started a little differently. I wasn't always on the bookkeeping track or the accounting track. I wasn't all about the money. I actually started on the premed track. So it was one of those things that, growing up in a Hispanic household, you're always told, you have to be either a doctor or a lawyer so that you can be successful in life. So I was like, well, law is not my thing. So I'm going to go the doctor route. I'm good at science. I'm good at math. Let's do that. And as I was going through college, I actually was on a full ride scholarship. It was great, but we still got to pay for gas and food and all of these expenses. So I actually started working with my now mother-in-law in her accounting firm, and she was like, hey, here's some bookkeeping work. You can help me out with this. And I started with that, and it was one of those things that as I started, I'm like, hey, I really, really like this. Like, I'm really enjoying this. It's bringing me such satisfaction to be able to get these accounts to reconcile. And I vividly remember one day I was sitting there and I was working through a really difficult reconciliation. And I was like, this isn't balancing. And when I finally got that little green check mark that said, hey, you got this. In that moment, I was like, this is what I need to be doing, because it's so much more than the reconciliation. It's about the fact that by getting these numbers intact, we're able to empower the business owner to say, hey, I know where my business is at. I know where I want to go. Now I have the foundation to get there. So needless to say, I walked into my advisor's office the next Monday and I switched my major. I graduated with my bachelor's. I then pursued my master's in business administration and also specialized in data analytics. So all things numbers. And while I was doing my master's online, I also pursued growing my business. So I started my business in 2021.
Awesome. Yeah, very similar. I'm a numbers person too. I get really excited when I can look at my balance sheet or my income statement and figure out that I made money at the end of the day. So I can imagine too, some people will come to you, right? And they've not balanced their books in a while. So talk about that. Like, how do you dive into that to figure out, where everything goes?
Definitely. So we'll have people, like how you said, they'll come and they'll be like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Like that's usually what happens. They're like, I filed my taxes last year, but here's my books, they're a mess. And I'm like, okay. So usually when diving in, one of the things that we first take a look at is making sure that all of our beginning balances are correct. So making sure everything matches to the tax return. So a lot of the times there could be issues that are throwing off these beginning balances, whether it's invoices that were paid and they weren't marked as paid, a lot of things in between. Definitely like very intricate things. But we always want to make sure that we have those beginning balances, that we ensure that we're not making any changes to prior periods. A lot of people go in and they're like, hey, your books have been a mess since 2016. I'm going to go in and change everything, without realizing that if we do that, then every single tax return since 2016 has to be amended. And we don't want to mess with the IRS. Like, it's one of those things that if they're material changes, it's one of those things that it's very important. Like, hey, you reported the wrong numbers to the IRS, we have to correct it. But if it's like, let's say you reported $50 to software and it actually should have been an office supply, we're not going to go ahead and redo your entire tax return over that. So definitely those things. And then it's going back and realizing a lot of people don't even notice that their books are missing bank accounts or credit cards. It's like, hey, is everything actually connected? And if everything is connected, is it actually pertaining to your business, or are your personal accounts mixed in there? So we want to make sure we separate business and personal, ensure every transaction is accounted for properly, and from that point reconcile it all and be able to give the client that high level and detailed leveled viewing, so they're able to say what you were saying, hey, I actually made money, or hey, I lost money. But now they have the knowledge to say, okay, this is where my money's going. I can cut down on these subscriptions. I can switch my payment processor to lower my fees. Like they actually know where to go, as opposed to, I don't know what's going on. I think I made money. I don't have any money in the bank. What's going on? So that's where we come in and we help get them all caught up, so that month by month they're able to see, hey, this is what's happening, and on a timely basis be able to make decisions, as opposed to at year end during tax season waiting for their tax professional to tell them, hey, you're at a loss, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess I have to change something.
Yeah, I love that. So first you sit down with the client to, because they're probably coming to you feeling very overwhelmed. So you're going to sit down and just help calm that situation and say, I got this. And then secondly, you're doing a lot of education too. So I imagine sometimes business owners will come to you not knowing how to separate that personal and that business, which is so key and so important, especially to the IRS, right?
Oh yeah.
So you take the time to educate them and talk about what should be personal and what should be business. Is that correct?
That is very correct. Yes. So one of the things that we do is that, like, when the client comes to us, we sit down and we have an initial discovery call where we'll see what's going on, how we can help, and then we come up with a plan of action telling them, hey, we believe that you need a cleanup beginning this day to this day. This is what we're going to offer you. This is what's going to be included, et cetera, et cetera. We make sure it's very customizable to that business, because not everyone needs the same thing. Some businesses have payroll, some businesses have sales tax. So definitely making it customizable to them. And then once the cleanup period is over, that we get everything caught up, I also sit down and have a review meeting with them. So we literally sit down and go line item by line item, everything on their profit and loss, on their income statement, to see, this is where your money's coming from. This is where it's going. Does this make sense? This seems like it should be personal. What was this purchase for? Like, we go into the nitty gritty of everything that's going on to make sure that it's accurate and they have the clarity that they need to make better business decisions.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that too is everything is online, right, for you. So you don't even necessarily have to go and sit down and go through credit cards, paper statements anymore, because everything is online. And you can automate so many things too. So you help your clients automate and set all those systems up too. So it's not overwhelming. And at the end of the month, you're just providing them with that profit and loss statement so that they can see, are the charges correct? Am I making money this month? Like, that's so important for them to know. And I'm always amazed at how many people come and they say, like, I don't know what a profit and loss statement is. I'm sure you hear that as well.
Yep. When I tell them, like, we'll sit down and it's like, hey, I'm going to give you your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your statement of cash flows, that these are all the things that you're going to be empowered with. And they're like, okay, but how do I use them? And I'm like, okay, I got you. This is where we're going to go in and we're going to talk about what each of these reports is going to provide you in your business.
Yeah. And I think people will miss that if they go to, a really inexpensive bookkeeper per se, that just helps make sure that the systems get automated, teaching them about what the statements mean and which statements as a business owner are important for them to look at. Profit and loss, every business owner should be looking at that, right? At least monthly. So talk about also, how do you work hand in hand, say, with their CPA or with some of their other professionals that they have hired as well?
I love this question because one of the things that I definitely like to help business owners realize is that we're all a team. You know, you have to have basically a finance department for your business. And that's including, you know, your CPA, which is going to be the one in charge of your taxes and your tax strategy and being able to see how you're going to structure your business, your entity, and how you're going to file your taxes at the end of the year to maximize your savings, you know, all of these different things. You have your bookkeeper, which is the one providing your CPA with all of the numbers of what's actually going on. This is the actual data, you know, that's been happening all year. So at year end, all they have to do is say, hey, I'm going to use these reports to do this. Or even if you're working with them throughout the year, making that tax strategy, you have your financial coach, which is going to help you change your different, how do you call this? Your different spending habits, your different strategies around money, your mindset, all of those things. So all of us come together. You have your payroll specialist, you know, that's going to help process your payroll and get you set up on that as well. So it's all a team of that. So I work hand in hand with every single one of these people to ensure that the business owner is actually able to have the clarity that they need completely, you know, like from all angles of the business. So we'll go in, like what we had mentioned, making sure that they know where the money's coming from, where it's going, all of the different things. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to help them keep the money that they earned, like that hard-earned money, right where it belongs, which is in their pocket, you know, instead of throwing it all over the place. You know, you can always go, you know, to find an inexpensive bookkeeper that's going to be like, hey, I'll charge you $50 a month. And then it's like, what did you really get out of that? What came into your bank got categorized as income. What left your bank got categorized as a business expense. And then where's the clarity? You know, it's not always like that.
Yeah.
So it's about getting that detail and getting that stuff. And we also save you money because if you save it all till the end of the year, your CPA is going to be like, whoa, hold on. I have to charge you an extra fee, and it's going to be even higher than what's normal because you're giving me this at the end of the year all rushed, right? And it's also explaining to these business owners that tax season isn't the only time your numbers are important. You know, a lot of the time they're like, hey, I just need it for taxes. You know, tax season's coming up, and that's usually why the end of the year, beginning of the next year are the busiest seasons, because everyone's like, oh, I have to get it caught up for tax season. And I'm like, okay, great, let's do that. But let's maintain it throughout the year so that you can actually have the clarity and the ability to make these decisions, because otherwise you're just making decisions on a year by year basis. And that's not really how a business should work.
Absolutely. So speaking of end of year, we're coming up on the end of the year. What are you telling your clients right now that they should be doing and paying attention to as we head into the last 6 weeks of the year?
Yes. So as we're heading into the last 6 weeks of the year, this is the perfect time to be reviewing Q1 to Q3. Well, we're already in November, so through October. Basically just taking a look at what's been going on in the year, comparing the trends to the previous year, seeing, okay, you know, maybe Q2 was your highest earning month. What are we going to do now to prep for Q2, right, of next year? Because you know that that's going to be your busiest month. So for my current clients, the ones that have their books maintained month by month, we're just continuing what we're doing and ensuring that everything is caught up monthly. And basically just telling them, hey, start looking at the comparisons, start looking at your trends, start setting your goals for next year. You know, you're able to see in this year, service A made you the most money. So are you going to expand on that? Are you going to market that more? Are you going to make a campaign regarding service A so you can bring in that more money of that in 2024? Are you going to drop service C because it's not bringing in any money for you? It's just a loss at this point. What exactly is the next step? And how are we going to do that? Right? So my place is just telling you, hey, this is what's most profitable. This is what's not. They make the decisions, you know, of how they want to do that. Because at the end of the day, you might have a service or a product or something that just, it fulfills you, it brings you all of this joy, but it's not profitable. But you still want to provide it in your business. You still want to serve your people, which is great. You just have to figure out how to make it sustainable. How are you going to make money with your other services to be able to make that sustainable?
Yeah, love that. So goal planning in November. I'm also a firm believer we don't wait till January because the year's already started. And then talking about what is being profitable for you, you helping them pointing it out on the reports and saying, hey, have you thought about this? This is making you good money. This one's not so much. Maybe you need to do a little shift in your business so that next year you're more profitable because you're focusing on the product or the service that's making you the most profit. So having you as a partner, not only to, do the data entry of the books, but to be your financial planner. And I don't want to put that term on you. I know there's a lot of financial planners out there, but really looking at your business and helping you to realize what's profitable and what's not is definitely a great asset to any company. So I love that as well. Some huge nuggets there. So I appreciate that. As we start to head into the end of the podcast here, I do have a fun question for you, which is, if you had a superpower, what would it be and why would you choose it?
Oof. Okay. So, as a mom, I don't know if we're making this fun. Have you ever seen The Incredibles?
Yes.
Okay. So one of my favorite superpowers has always been like Elastigirl, right? And as a mom, I'm like, man, you know how awesome it would be that I'm here with my baby and I could like reach over here and do all of these things, or like have this hand on the computer, have this hand over here, and just be able to be in multiple places at once just by stretching there. Yeah, that's definitely one of the superpowers that has stood out to me. Or flying, we can always fly and avoid Miami traffic to get to our networking events. So,
That's very, very true. Awesome. Aileen, I appreciate all the guidance and all the value you brought to the podcast today. If our audience wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Of course. So, you can always go straight to our website. It's riseupbookkeeping.com. We're offering free consultations. So right when you go to riseupbookkeeping.com, you'll be able to click on the button. It says schedule a free call, book a time on my calendar. I'd love to chat and get to know more about you and your business and how Rise Up Bookkeeping can help you. Which brings me to the fact that on the website also, we have a little freebie of 6 bookkeeping tips that you can do to get your bookkeeping in order this week. So you can also get that on there. And lastly, we have social media. So you can always follow us at Rise Up Bookkeeping LLC on Instagram. We're always dropping little nuggets on there too. And it'd be great to connect with you guys on there.
Oh, I love the freebies too. Thank you so much for offering that to the audience, because anything we can do to teach more financial education and free, I'm all about it. So thank you for offering that today.
Of course, that is the goal.
Yay. Thank you so much, Aileen, for being on my podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Thank you so much for tuning into Empower Her Money podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, and leave a review wherever you are tuning in.